There is a price on your cruise line's app that is watching you back, not the headline fare on the booking page, the drink package, the upgrade, the spa day. Frequent cruisers will tell you the number you see is not the number the person in the next cabin sees because the booking system has been quietly studying how you tap and hover and hesitate, and it adjusts. That is not a glitch. It is one of dozens of systems on a modern cruise ship built to do a single job, which is to stay invisible to you while it works. I have spent enough years on these ships to know where the seams are, and I will tell you plainly that none of this is tinfoil hat nonsense, and it should not scare you off a cruise, but it is all real. The cruise lines have spent decades engineering the quiet parts of the trip to nudge a little more out of you and to keep you from noticing, and it works best on travelers over 65, because we came up trusting that the price on the tag was the price and the bill was the bill. At sea, none of that is automatic anymore. So here's where they hide it. The systems, the cycles, the codes, and the one charge near the end of this list that can land 5 figures on your account before you ever see a doctor with not a penny of it covered by Medicare. Here is how each one actually works and exactly what you do about it. Number 1, start with that drink package because the price itself is the clearest example of the whole game. The beverage package, the internet plan, the specialty dining, on most lines now, all of it is priced by software that behaves the way airline and hotel pricing does. It watches the account browsing it. Open the app, linger on the premium package 3 times, and cruisers swear the price drifts up because the system has decided you are a buyer. Hesitate, close it, leave it alone for a week, and a limited time discount can appear because now it is trying to reel you back in. They will never confirm a word of this on the record. You do not need them to. Research the package once, then close the app and stop poking at it. The genuine fleet-wide discounts, the real ones, land during the scheduled promotions in the weeks before you sail, not in response to your tapping. Work out what it is honestly worth to you on land with a clear head and a calculator, and book it at that figure or not at all. Number 2, the moment you board, your real wallet disappears and you never feel another dollar leave your hand all week. Everything runs on the cruise card or the app. One tap, no cash, no signature, nothing to add up in your head. That design serves the ship far more than it serves you. Cashless systems exist because every study of human spending lands in the same place. Remove the small sting of paying and people spend more without ever deciding to. A $9 cocktail, a photo here, a boutique there, a little flutter in the casino, and not one of those felt like money in the moment. By the last night, the folio is a long, quiet list of taps you barely remember making. For someone on a fixed retirement income, that gap between what you felt and what you actually spent is exactly where a budget quietly bleeds out. Almost nobody does the one thing that closes it. Twice during the week, walk to a kiosk or open your folio in the app and read the running total. Catching it midweek while you can still pull back is the entire trick. Number 3, the morning you walk off the ship, you assume your account is closed and settled. Often it is not, and this is the one that still catches people who have sailed for years. The onboard accounting system can stay open for hours, sometimes longer, after you have disembarked, and pending charges get added once you are no longer standing there to question them. A minibar restock you never touched, a vague damage or cleaning fee, a bar tab you already disputed, quietly back from the dead. I once got home, unpacked, and found a minibar charge for a bottle of water I never opened, posted to my card 3 days after I was back in my own kitchen. Try proving a negative from 1,000 miles away. So spend a few minutes on the final evening before the lines form, go to guest services and ask for a printed itemized statement. Read every line that night, and anything you do not recognize, dispute it on the spot, while the people who can erase it are still standing in front of you. Number 4, ever wonder why the free play offers and the drink coupons only start arriving after you have lost a little? The machinery behind it is simple enough. The casino tracks your play through that same card, time at the table, how fast you bet, whether you reload after a loss. Win big and leave and you go quiet and the offers dry up. Lose steadily and keep coming back and you turn into what the industry politely calls a high-value guest, and the free play starts flowing your way. That free $25 was never a gift. It is an investment calculated against what the system already knows you will lose on average to claim it. The honest word for what it does is reactivation. This one hunts retirees in particular because we have the time to sit for hours and just enough discipline to believe we can outlast a machine built to outlast us. So treat free play as exactly what it is, which is bait on a hook. Set a hard number before you walk in, play it once, and walk out whether you are up or down. The offers that come chasing you afterward are the system trying to reactivate you, and not one of them deserves an answer, and they do not stop when the cruise does. The mailers and the emails keep arriving for months, each one a little sweeter than the last because a guest who walked away clean is exactly the customer they most want back at a table. Number 5, connect to the ship's Wi-Fi and you are not just buying slow internet at an absurd price. Ask anyone who sails a lot and you hear the same thing, and it varies by ship, but the network logs which apps you open and how long you linger, and the ship puts that to work. Browse a jewelry site one evening and an invitation to the onboard jewelry event appears under your door the next morning. Read the spa menu and the spa special finds you. Out on the open sea, the ship's servers sit in a legal gray zone, not clearly bound by any one country's privacy rules, which is part of why this is even possible. They are certainly not going to advertise it. So treat ship Wi-Fi the way you would treat a public airport network, because that is what it is, only with less accountability. Use a VPN if you have one, and do not sign into your shopping or banking apps until you are back on a connection you trust. Number 6, the duty-free shops on board are not fixed-price stores, and the price you see depends on where the passengers are. At sea, when everyone is aboard and browsing, prices ride high. On a port day, when half the ship has gone ashore, the exclusive port day offer appears and the final clearance, today only announcement comes crackling over the speakers. That is not a store generously clearing stock at a loss. It is inventory math, timed to the one window when the people left aboard are bored and drifting past the windows. The watch they slash in half may have been full price 24 hours earlier and still cost hundreds more than the same watch in a shop ashore. I stopped buying anything pricey at sea the day I found the same watch in a port 2 hours later for a few $100s less. If you genuinely want something, photograph the tag early, let the clearance theater wash right over you, and compare it against a real store on land before you ever hand over a card. Number 7, loyalty programs feel like the one corner of the ship that is finally on your side, and sometimes they truly are. But the same kind of software that watches you shop the drink package watches you shop the fare. Experienced cruisers will tell you the base fare a logged-in loyalty member sees can be nudged upward before the member discount is applied, so that your shiny 10 or 20% off lands you right back near the public price a total stranger would have paid. And booking under a loyalty promotion can flag your reservation as booked and lock you out of the better flash sale that drops 2 weeks later. Checking this costs you nothing. Before you book, price the exact same sailing in a private browser window, logged out as a stranger. Then log in and look again. If the base fare jumped the second it recognized you, you have your answer and you book whichever way is honestly cheaper. Number 8, you get the call or the email, a complimentary upgrade, a nicer category, no charge, and it feels like being chosen. What they are often really doing is shuffling inventory, and the new cabin can be a sideways move or worse, dressed up with a fancier label. The same square footage now directly under the pool deck where the deck chairs scrape across the floor at 6 in the morning, or pressed against a noisy cruise service door that thumps all night, or moved forward and high where, as you will hear in a minute, the sea throws the ship around the most. A deluxe ocean view can be the identical room as a standard ocean view with a grander name and a worse spot on the ship. Before you accept any upgrade, take 2 minutes and find the new cabin number on the deck plan. Then look at what sits above it, below it, and beside it. If it is lower, louder, or further from the elevators you actually rely on, you are allowed to say no thank you and keep the room you chose. That option is real, and they will not offer it out loud. Number 9, early boarding sounds like a head start. Half the time you are paying to wait in a different line. Everyone who bought priority shows up at the same eager, early moment and bunches into a bottleneck at the terminal, while the regular group that strolls up 45 minutes later walks onto a half-empty ship for free. Terminals clear in waves, and the early wave is the crowded one. For those of us who would rather not stand on a hard floor balancing a bag, that is worth knowing. Skip the surge and arrive in the middle of your boarding window instead. You will be settled by the pool with a drink while the priority crowd is still shuffling toward the scanner. Number 10, every line now adds a daily gratuity to your account automatically, and the way it is presented, you would swear it was a fixed, mandatory, untouchable slice of the fare. It is nothing of the kind. On nearly every major line, those auto gratuities can be adjusted or removed entirely at the front desk. Now, I am not telling you to stiff the crew, and I never would. These are people working long contracts far from home, and the tips are how they are actually paid. But the thing they are careful not to volunteer is that this is your decision and not a tax. If the service genuinely failed you, or money is tight and you would rather hand cash directly to the specific people who took care of you, that is your right. Know the desk exists, know the choice belongs to you, and make it on purpose instead of by sleepy default. Number 11, the all-inclusive beverage package is paid in full, weeks before you sail, done and dusted. Then on certain port days, a small charge starts landing on every single drink anyway, usually around $1, and people quietly see that the bartender who had nothing to do with it. When the ship is docked in certain places, local taxes apply to each drink poured, and on sailings through United States waters or European ports, that tax gets passed to you per drink even though the package is fully paid. It is real, it is perfectly legal, and nobody mentions it when they sell you the package. Just know it is coming, so a stray $10 or $20 on the final bill does not feel like a betrayal. Or simply skip the drinks during those few docked hours and spend nothing at all. Number 12, weeks before you sail, the emails begin. Reserve your specialty dining now, limited availability, secure your table before it is gone. That timing is no accident. They push the paid restaurants hardest while you are still excited and long before you have any real sense of how much food is already included in what you paid. Every ship carries a generous spread of food already in your fare, the main dining room, the buffet, several casual spots, and a first-timer can sail an entire week without paying a cent extra and eat very well. The specialty restaurants can be genuinely worth it as a treat on a longer voyage, and I have had meals at sea I still think about, but they are not the only way to eat, no matter how the pre-cruise drumbeat makes it feel. Map what is included on your specific ship first, then add a specialty night or two on purpose as a real splurge rather than out of a manufactured fear you will go hungry. Number 13, notice where the ship's photographers plant themselves. The gangway as you board, the staircase to dinner, the dock at every port, the formal night. Those are choke points chosen precisely because you have to pass through them, and the photo package is then priced to feel like a bargain once you are holding a stack of prints you feel guilty about wasting. So here is the flat verdict from someone who bought the package once and regretted it. Skip the whole thing without a second thought. You will look at those post photos exactly one time. The candid shots your travel companion snaps on a phone are the ones you will actually keep, and they cost you nothing. If there is one portrait you genuinely love, most lines will sell you that single image on its own, so buy that one and let the rest go. Number 14, the onboard art auction is theater built around a sail, and the free champagne is the first prop. It is there to loosen you up before you bid on art at prices that often have little to do with what the same piece fetches back on land, propped up by an appraisal from a party with every reason to inflate it. Enjoy the free glass if you like. Treat the whole thing as entertainment, and buy art on a cruise only if you would gladly pay that price for it on your own wall with no investment story attached. The certificate is part of the show, not a promise about tomorrow. Number 15, turn the cabin temperature all the way down, listen to the unit hum along, and notice the room never quite gets there. The air conditioner is not broken, and you are not imagining it. On many ships, the thermostat in your cabin is capped by a central energy management system and allowed to drift only inside a narrow band because cooling thousands of cabins to whatever each guest wants would cost the line a fortune in fuel. The dial hands you the feeling of control while the system keeps the real range to itself. This lands harder on older travelers because sleep and comfort and certain health conditions do not negotiate with a building's fuel budget. What works more often than people expect is to just ask. Visit the front desk and explain that you have a temperature sensitivity or a health reason you need the room cooler or warmer. This varies by ship, but on a lot of them, a technician can quietly widen the range on your specific cabin, and no doctor's note is required. The only thing standing between you and a comfortable night is the asking. Number 16, the priciest suites on the ship sit forward and high, sold hard on the view, and that is exactly the spot I warned you about a minute ago. Here is the physics they leave off the brochure. A ship pivots like a seesaw around its center, which sits low and near the middle, and the further you are from that center, the more motion you feel. So the grand suite at the front and the top is where the sea moves you most. You are paying a premium to feel queasier. For anyone worried about seasickness, balance, or a fall in a dark moving cabin at 3 in the morning, that is the difference between sleeping soundly and gripping the wall on a rough night. Modern stabilizers cut the roll dramatically, but they do not erase it, and they do the least up at the front. Book low and midship, the steadiest patch of the whole vessel, and ride the elevator up to the views, which are free to every passenger aboard. Spend the money you saved on something that does not have you reaching for the ginger tablets. And if you know you are prone to motion sickness, choose a larger, newer ship while you are at it, because the bigger the vessel and the more modern the stabilizers, the less the open ocean gets a vote in how your stomach feels that night. Number 17, a cabin listed for 3 or 4 people sounds like real beds for everyone. Very often it is not. What sleeps 4 really means is 2 lower beds plus an upper bunk that folds down out of the wall, called a Pullman, or a thin sofa bed. This holds true even in some ocean view and balcony cabins and in the junior suites. For grandparents traveling with the grandchildren or 2 couples sharing a room, that is the difference between a fine week and somebody climbing a ladder into a bunk at 70 years old. Never trust the head count on its own. Before you book, confirm the actual bed configuration. Ask point blank what the 3rd and 4th berths physically are, and make sure nobody who has no business climbing into an upper bunk ends up assigned to one. Number 18, by the 3rd day, a lot of people feel worn thin, a little rundown, maybe even a touch sick, and they quietly blame their own age for it. Your age is not what is doing it. The itinerary is engineered to keep you moving and spending from the early breakfast to the late show, 8-hour excursions stacked against packed sea-day calendars because a busy guest is an engaged and spending guest. Rest is the one thing nobody builds into the schedule for you. For older travelers, that relentless pace wears you down rather than proving anything, and a dream trip can quietly curdle into needing a vacation to recover from your vacation. So plan your rest with the same care you plan the fun. Take the half-day tour over the all-day march. Leave one slow morning sitting between 2 big port days. A long lunch and a lazy afternoon doing absolutely nothing is the reason you reach the end of the cruise still feeling human. Number 19, the buffet feeds thousands of people through a system with a great many hands and a great deal of waiting, and there is a temperature window roughly between 40 and 140 degrees where bacteria multiply in a hurry. Food sitting just outside the steam, the communal condiment stations pawed by hundreds of strangers, the raw bar that is where the trouble breeds. Norovirus does not care how gorgeous the ship is, and it hits older immune systems harder and holds on longer than it does the young, which can turn a few rough hours into several lost days of your trip. Take hot food that is genuinely steaming rather than lukewarm, lean toward dishes that are clearly fresh and moving fast, and go easy on the raw items and the shared vats, and there is a small money tip hiding inside the safety one. Skip the cheap carbs you can get anywhere, the bread and pasta and pastries that fill you for nothing, and save your stomach for the dishes you are genuinely paying for and would never bother to cook at home. Number 20, you step off the ship after a week. You are standing on solid, unmoving ground, and the ground is somehow swaying. The bed rocks gently that first night home. For some people, it drags on for days. That is a genuine condition with a name, mal de débarquement, your inner ear still faithfully running the balance program it built to keep you upright on a moving ship. It is usually mild and it usually clears on its own, but here is why it earns a place on this list. An older traveler who has never heard of it can feel that sway, fear it is a stroke or something worse, and spin themselves into a real panic in the night. It is almost never that, so the fix begins with simply knowing the name before you sail so you recognize it for what it is when it arrives. Some people keep taking an over-the-counter remedy for a day or two afterward, or wear the little acupressure bands. If it turns severe or refuses to fade, see your own doctor. But for most of us, it slips away quietly within a couple of days. Number 21, this is the secret that can leave you stranded on a foreign dock watching your ship slide out of the harbor, and it snares somebody on nearly every cruise. The ship runs on ship time, a clock the captain sets, and it does not always match the local time of the port you are docked in, and it may not match your phone either, which is busy auto-updating to whatever cell tower it found ashore. Some lines hold home port time all week long. Some shift the clock with every port. Trust your phone while the ship is on a different clock, and you can be a full hour off and miss the all aboard. They announce the difference once and assume you were listening. So set your phone to ship time by hand the moment you board, and never lean on the automatic update while you are sailing. That single small habit is the whole distance between a relaxed lunch back on the ship and a genuinely terrible afternoon at a foreign taxi stand. Number 22. Tied right to that clock is a hard truth the brochures love to soften. The ship sails on a strict schedule, and it will not wait for stragglers, because a late departure means port fees and a wrecked sequence for every stop that follows. A couple I know came strolling back to the pier in Nassau about 12 minutes after all aboard, and they got to watch the gangway lift and everything they owned except a beach bag sail off to the next island without them. From that moment, the flights, the hotels, and the whole cost of chasing the ship to its next port lands squarely on you. The crew know exactly who is missing from the card scans, and they may let themselves into your cabin, gather your passport and essentials, and leave them with the port agent. Now, here is the part worth real money. If you are out on a shore excursion booked through the cruise line and it runs late, the ship holds, or the line gets you to the next port on its own dime. Book that identical tour independently to shave off $30, run late, and you are stranded entirely at your own expense. That protection is the genuine reason to book certain tours through the ship, and they almost never frame it that way to you. Number 23, you booked this whole cruise for one port, the bucket list stop, the reason you chose this itinerary over all the others. Buried in the cruise contract you clicked to agree to is language that lets the line change or drop ports more or less whenever it likes, usually for weather, sometimes for reasons it never fully explains, and you are generally owed nothing for the missed stop beyond any taxes tied specifically to it. They are not going to sail into a storm just to keep you smiling, and honestly, you would not want them to. But never hang an entire expensive cruise on a single port. Choose the sailing for the ship and the overall route. Treat any one stop as a bonus that might quietly evaporate, and carry travel insurance that covers itinerary changes if a particular port truly is the whole point for you. Number 24, the safety muster drill is required, and rightly so, but Crew Talk quietly suggests the scan that checks you in does a touch more than confirm you showed up. Skip it or drift in late, and you can land on an internal list of guests marked as not following instructions, the sort the ship keeps a slightly closer eye on for the week. They will never put that in writing, and how far any of it goes varies wildly by ship. True or overblown, your response is the same and it costs you nothing. Complete the drill the moment they open it, get your scan logged, and you are off everyone's radar for the voyage. On most lines now, the whole thing takes a few minutes on the app, plus a quick walk to your station. Number 25, listen closely to the announcements and you will catch words that mean nothing to you and everything to the crew. That is entirely on purpose so they can handle something serious without 1,000 passengers stampeding for the lifeboats. The meanings shift from line to line, but the pattern is fairly consistent. A Bravo often signals a fire somewhere aboard. Oscar means a person has gone over the side. A Delta can mean damage to the ship itself. And the one nobody ever wants decoded, Operation Rising Star, means a passenger has died on board. I am not handing you this to frighten you. Understanding a calm-coded announcement, instead of just sensing something is wrong and picturing the worst, is its own quiet form of control. You will know to move calmly toward your station if it is ever the real thing, and to stay relaxed if it is only a drill. Number 26, here is one they will never slip into the brochure, told plainly because you can handle it. Large cruise ships are required to carry a small morgue, with room for several, to hold anyone who passes away with dignity until a port can handle things properly, which can take days. With thousands of people sailing at a time, a good many of them our age, it happens, and the crew manage it discreetly, usually in the small hours, so most of the ship never has the faintest idea. And no, before you hear the old crew rumor, the free ice cream they hand out has absolutely nothing to do with clearing freezer space for a body. The morgue is a separate room with its own capacity, and the ice cream is just ice cream. If anything, knowing the system exists and is handled with real care should settle your nerves rather than turn your stomach. These ships are quietly prepared for the full reality of who sails on them. Number 27, you will get lost, and it is not your eyesight and it is not your memory going. Cruise ship hallways are deliberately built to look identical deck after deck, and a disoriented guest who drifts past the shops and the bars one more time is not a problem the line is in any rush to fix. But the crew built quiet wayfinding in for themselves, and once you know it, you can read it too. On many ships, the hallway carpet carries a pattern that points toward the front, or little woven fish and symbols all facing the bow. The rule of thumb that almost always holds is that the theater sits forward and the main dining room and buffet sit aft toward the back. Learn your ship's cue on the very first day, glance down at the carpet instead of guessing, and you will stop circling the same deck when your feet are already done for the day. Number 28, the cruise lines are perfectly content for you to believe that booking direct on their own website is the cheaper, smarter play. For most travelers over 65, it is neither. A good travel agent who specializes in cruises generally costs you nothing at all because the line pays them, and they frequently hold group rates, onboard credit, and promotions you will simply never see on the public site. More valuable than the money, they are an actual human being who picks up the phone when your flight is canceled, when a port drops, when the line's own call center has left you on hold for an hour and counting. The line would honestly rather you not have that advocate in your corner because an informed customer with an expert on speed dial is harder to upsell and harder to brush off. And if the fare drops after you have booked, a good agent watches for it and rebooks you at the lower price, which is something the line's own website will never volunteer on its own. Find a reputable cruise-focused agent and let them handle the booking and the hand-holding at no extra cost to you, so there is a real person to call when something goes sideways. Number 29, they want you off the ship on port days, out spending money on their shore excursions and ashore. The seasoned cruisers quietly do the opposite. When the ship empties out at port, the people who stay aboard get an entirely different vacation. Empty loungers, no line for the pool, the spa, and sometimes the restaurants running soft port day discounts to fill the slow hours, and none of the heat, the crowds, the long walking, or the pickpockets who target obvious cruise passengers in a busy port town. You do not have to skip every port. But for a traveler whose knees or energy do not love an 8-hour walking tour, choosing to stay aboard on a port you only half care about, or stepping off briefly and coming back to a near-deserted ship is one of the great quiet luxuries of this whole way of traveling. Give yourself full permission to stay put and enjoy the ship at its calmest. Number 30, a small one that adds up faster than you would think. The ship will cheerfully sell you bottled water, a soda package, and $3 specialty coffees while the included options sit right there in plain sight. The water that comes out of the tap on board is filtered and fine to drink. The dining rooms pour it for free, and there is included coffee and tea, often more than people realize, all of it already bought and paid for inside your fare. The whole environment is arranged so the free option stays quiet and the paid one is everywhere your eye lands. Find out on day one exactly which beverages are already included on your ship. Fill a reusable bottle and stop paying a premium for water in the literal middle of an ocean. Number 31, here it is, the one I asked you to hold on to since the beginning, and it is the only secret on this list that can wipe out your savings instead of nicking your wallet. The ship's medical center looks like an ordinary clinic, but it is run as a private, out-of-network operation, and the prices reflect a captive audience floating in the middle of the sea. A visit for something minor can run into the hundreds. Anything serious, a medical evacuation by helicopter or a transfer to a foreign hospital can climb well into 5 figures, billed straight to your onboard account, and payable before they will let you leave. And here is the part that lands hardest of all for American travelers our age. Original Medicare almost never covers care delivered outside the United States, and that includes a ship at sea, so the coverage you have leaned on for your entire adult life simply does not apply the moment the lines drop. People assume their regular plan follows them onto the water. It does not, and they find that out at the worst possible moment, already frightened and now staring at a bill. It bites deepest for anyone managing a heart condition, diabetes, or anything that can flare without warning, which honestly describes a great many of us by this age. And the charge does not care one bit that you are on a fixed income. This is not a reason to stay home. It is the single most important reason to take out travel medical insurance before you sail, the kind written specifically to cover emergency care abroad and, above all else, medical evacuation. It is the cheapest peace of mind you will ever buy, and the one secret here that stands between you and a genuine financial catastrophe rather than a nuisance charge. So that is where they hide it. Not in one grand scam, but in dozens of quiet systems, each one small enough to wave off, all of them together adding up to a ship that knows more about your habits than you would ever guess and is counting on you not to look too closely. None of it should keep you home. The ocean is still the ocean, and a cruise is still one of the easiest and most comfortable ways for people our age to see the world. You just step aboard knowing what is humming away beneath the deck now, and that is the whole difference between being handled and handling it yourself. If you want the rest of what the cruise lines would rather you boarded without knowing, subscribe and stay close because there is a great deal more where these came from.